Morning.
Hello.
Oh, okay. Good morning.
Morning.
You're enjoying the relaxing music. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's a little wet here in the Algarve. It's kind of unusual.
Ah, Pretty nice then, is it? To have a change.
Yeah, we're gonna get outside today anyway, so
Yeah,
looking forward to that.
yeah, sounds good. So I had a quick peep in here, see where we are, and we're on the um chapter called Meditative Concentration. So then
Right.
the memories come back, because I kind of forget about it during the month. But I remember the last time we said that we were going to make an effort to take some time every day to just sit quietly, like go out into the forest. And I said that in the meeting, and then I didn't really remember as such, but it did start to happen that I started to take more time to just sit quietly. And I feel like it's really nice because for a long time I didn't really take time to just sit quietly, because I kind of feel like something happened where I used to meditate all the time. I started when I was about 18 and meditated all the time. Not religiously because I'm not great at sticking to things all the time, but on and off all the time. But then something happened where I suppose I just saw that really our true state is really meditation. What I would consider meditation when you're really just sitting and you're not doing anything, you're not engaging with anything, you're just present and you're letting everything unfold. You're not giving attention to anything in particular, but you're not making any effort. Really, you're in your effortless nature. So then the urge to want to meditate just left. Like I didn't really feel like I wanted to meditate anymore. But even then, I did take time sometimes. And I feel like it's always nice. And if I went on a retreat or something, of course, you'd be sitting all the time. And then when I had a child, I just didn't really have time. And I suppose that's kind of an excuse because you can make time for anything that's important. But now, why happened? But like I started sitting every day, like making time. Okay, I'm going to just sit quietly now for however long, like 20 minutes, at minimum of 20 minutes, just sitting. And it's so like, it's like, it's like having a drink or something when you're thirsty. It's just so pleasant. Like so nice. And even if you're already, you might be already calm and you might be already fine. And maybe there isn't even an urge to sit. But when you sit, it's something different. Maybe something that like my mind doesn't really understand, but it's kind of like you're totally giving yourself to that entirely, for that time. Whereas, you kind of are anyway, even if you're moving around, but you're still engaged. It's not really like I don't really think it's an opposition, being engaged in the world is important. Also to be engaged in the world. But yeah, something very nice about it. I like it. too.
It's the highlight of my day
Mhm.
for sure when I get to do that. And
Yeah.
being retired has meant that there isn't the urgency or the
Mm,
gripping hurry up to make sure to get it done. It's just okay. This
yeah.
is here we go. I get to do this first. All right, let's go.
Yeah. Because I think it as well at a certain point you're doing it because you're trying to get something. Like there's many people in the world who I'm sure are familiar with meditating and I have to meditate, people have like a practice, like I have to meditate first thing because it will set me up for the day. Like so I need to do this so that something else will happen. So that I'll be peaceful or so that, for me it used to be I don't actually know what it used to be, but definitely at one point there was an effort to try to discover who I am. At a certain point it got to that. But then when that leaves, it's kind of like, oh well, I don't really need to do it. Like just peace is here all the time. Anyway, But so then it's not coming from a need, and I think that's beautiful then. It's you don't even know what it's for. You don't know why, but it's definitely feel good. It feels good. So then life is calling you to just sit. And you never know what will happen. Like maybe it'll stop because life does its own thing, it is whoever it wants. But I would definitely recommend it. Yeah.
The phrase that's come up certainly in satsang elsewhere is the great perfection.
Mm,
And I love
yeah.
that. It's from the Dzogchen people, and
Mm,
it's this sort of area of Buddhism, oddly enough. We're
mm,
we're talking about a Buddhist text here, but I take that to mean that all wanting is just gone. I mean, if something's perfect, there's no improving it, and so you don't
yeah.
need your mind to come up with really anything for the
Yeah.
current situation. It can just completely settle, and
Mm,
it's been just a beautiful phrase.
yeah. The great perfection.
The great perfection. We're sort of perceiving the great perfection, and it's
Yeah.
sort of before you go solving
Mm,
problems and building, cathedrals and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. It's funny, like I guess it's just a mind thing really. But I can't really put my finger on the difference between, like, let's say I'm talking to you now and we can be aware of the great perfection or the silence that's here, like even when talking is happening, or even when like movement is happening, we can be aware of that. But there does seem to be some different quality when you just like you sit and you choose to not engage with anything at all, and just like that rest in the great perfection. But the great perfection is here as well, but I do feel like there's something, I don't know what it is, but it's something very good. I think maybe it's like that, like you can kind of fall deeper into it or something, and you're giving yourself an opportunity or an invitation or a willingness. You're willing to fall deeper and deeper into it. And that can always be the case. You can always deepen. Perhaps it's something like that.
I wonder, a question was coming up while I was pouring my coffee in this morning for you, and
Yeah.
it had to do with the relationship between Course in Miracles, and this particular text. Are there
Mm,
some parallels? Because you often do, when we're speaking, call out something from Course in Miracles, and I looked at it on Amazon, so I guess
yeah.
I'm pretty close to buying it and
Okay.
reading it. Yeah.
Um, I don't know. My mind doesn't really retain a lot of information.
Okay.
But I can say that I think what my mind does, this mind, it seems to, when it hears different things from different traditions, like within spirituality, my mind somehow sees the sameness in them, you know. Um, so someone's like, oh yeah, I discovered this new type of meditation or this new tradition or this new practice, and then they tell me about it, and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I'm like, it sounds just like this or it's like this, like it's kind of exactly the same. And so in that way, probably. But if I think of A Course in Miracles, what it is to me is a lot of it is focused on like it's kind of training the mind, so our mind, so in that way it's kind of different. And it is pointing us, like all the spiritual traditions, they're all pointing us to what's beyond the mind, really. Like you say, the great perfection. So everything that's of any use really is aiming to bring us there and to recognize there and to be there and live from there. Um, and I think A Course in Miracles is very it's not really bypassing anything. It's kind of working with the mind, and it kind of understands how it's the mind that where we get caught up. So it gives you counter thoughts, so it gives you thoughts that maybe kind of come from, like, if the mind is a higher mind and a lower mind, and like the higher mind doesn't really bother you, and also it maybe facilitates and helps you to be in your true nature. So it kind of encourages true thoughts. And I think it even says something like that, like you're kind of thinking with God, and
Oh,
somehow that, and it's giving you very specific things. Okay, so you have to repeat this thought like 3 times a day or something, and maybe take 5 minutes and look around and apply the thought to everything that you see. So it's really like mind training. I don't know if it uses that in it, but like I kind of see it like mind training. And I do feel like it's very good, and it definitely gets in on you because it's so repetitive,
mm,
so it's like every day for a year. And also it's multiple times throughout the day. So, it starts very gently, like maybe once a day. Then it would continue on, then twice a day. But then it's every hour. Every hour. Like maybe you have to say something. Like one thing I remember is, I am not a body. I am free, for I am still as God created me.
mm,
And when I did it, I don't think I really understood a lot of the things. Like they didn't really touch into my heart, um, really. And I felt like even if I understood one of these, that would be enough. I had that kind of sense, and I didn't at the time. But I don't think it really matters, because then I think you're given it's like when knots are getting undone, you don't really know that they're getting undone. Like imagine you might know this because you have daughters, so I'm sure you brushed their hair when they were young. Maybe sometimes they had a knot in their hair or something, and you're brushing the knot out of their hair, and they're like, "Oh, ow, ow." So actually, because you can see it, that the knot is becoming undone, but they're still saying, "Ow, ow, ow," and they don't know until it's gone. Then you do the final brush, and then it's like, but maybe they're still not grateful in that final brush because they're still feeling the like with the knot. So kind of like that, like we don't really recognize when the knots are being undone until like they're undone. And then it's just you start to recognize. Like I remember after Course in Miracles, could have been loads of things, but one thing that I noticed was I used to get very triggered around my brother. Like my brother sometimes he's really nice, like I like him, but he can be a bit troubled, so sometimes he just kind of turns and he gets angry all of a sudden. So even if he didn't do that, I would be kind of having this sense of like tension around him, like without really consciously thinking it, but like kind of like a fear that like he's going to get angry or something. And then if he did, then it would be like, but somehow that just totally left, like without any effort at all. And it's just like, oh, I feel totally comfortable in his presence. And even if he did just get angry all of a sudden, it was just like, I was just able to see, okay, he's angry. But like it
mm.
wasn't touching me anymore somehow. And I guess that was a very noticeable one for me at the time, So I think maybe just life itself does that, it undoes our knots through all the different ways. But spiritual practice, whatever kind of spiritual practice you choose, it does that. So,
So
and
this was a chapter a day for a year, and you completed it.
not a chapter a day, it's like a lesson. So
Okay.
I did it. So I was lucky. I had a boyfriend at the time, and he was really into A Course in Miracles. Like he'd
Ah,
already done it like a few times. And then I decided to do it. And when I was doing it, he was like, okay, I'll join you. And I think because we were both doing it together, that really kept me going because I think it would be hard to do it every day if you didn't have somebody to do it with,
okay.
because sometimes you just don't feel like doing it.
Mm,
It's just like, oh no. And it was definitely hard for me. Like I felt like, oh, just this inner struggle, like a lot. And when you'd be saying the thoughts, like maybe sometimes you don't believe them, like you feel the resistance to the thought that it's given because they're beautiful, really. They're all beautiful thoughts and like nice things. But like even if the mind doesn't resist it, like somewhere in my being, I could feel like, ooh, like didn't want it. Like those knots getting pulled out, like doesn't feel so good. But
got it.
ultimately, then I saw at the end of that, after all that, I came to satsang then. And then I felt like actually A Course in Miracles, the only thing it's trying to do is just to get you to recognize your being, really. That's all it's really doing. And then I was like, oh, that seems like a lot of effort because all like my being was just here the whole time. But then as more time went on, I feel like it's actually more than that. So it is that. It is that. But I think it's more than that because the thing is that if we come to satsang, and maybe other kind of spiritual traditions, and we recognize our being. We all do that at a different point. So maybe I recognize my being when I still have like mountains of conditioning. So it's harder for me to stay and rest as my being because something keeps getting pulled like magnetically towards that conditioning. Whereas another person might recognize their being and be able to just rest there easily because the conditioning maybe isn't so strong because of whatever spiritual practice probably that they've done before that. So in that way, I think A Course in Miracles, it kind of helps the mind to loosen of its ideas, all the ideas that it has, and of course, a year is probably not going to do it, but it's definitely very helpful. And well, it can do it, like even a moment can do it. You can loosen up your mind very quickly. It's not that it will be gone completely, but you can loosen that grip that it has. And so even though I've done that and loads of spiritual practices and I've been meditating since I was 18 and I'm 41 now, like there are still things. And I'm sure there's people, older than me as well who have been practicing, like doing all kinds of practices and they still see stuff. So I definitely see that there are some things that maybe there's more holding on to. So then when I see it, I'm like, okay, there's still so usually once you see it, it starts to loosen. So yeah.
Well, one of the things that Shantideva's been doing is hacking away at this idea that we've been discussing and related to identifying as a body mind.
Yeah.
And one of the early things he's saying is you're going to have to give this up. You're
Yeah.
not taking anything with you.
Mm,
Your body, your thoughts, your dreams, your stuff, your
yeah.
relationships, your identity, your status in society, all of that you're going to have to
Yeah.
let go of. So, and it kind of leaves you in a
Yeah.
different place.
And I think it is enough, like I think if you read this text and if you took it really seriously, like really take it into your heart and you're really like, okay, okay, and you take what it says, then I think that's enough, and if you take A Course in Miracles and satsang pointings, I think probably any practice, if you really take it in and like, okay, then it's enough. But you see, our minds create issues for us and our mind says, actually, like this isn't enough, because I speak to people like and speak to people all the time and like some people are saying, actually like I've done this, I've gone down this satsang path, or I'm familiar with, the work of Byron Katie or Course in Miracles or the Buddhist teachings and like it's just not enough for me. I need something else.
Mm.
And I think it's okay. Maybe they do, who am I to say what they need and what they don't need? But what I have seen, and that's just how my mind works, is that they actually are all enough. And really, it is enough to really just like if you're really, you just see who you are. That's like it's really enough because that's the thing that does all the work. We don't have to do the work. We don't have to do anything, and there's nothing we can really do. I know it's kind of paradoxical because we have to kind of do the practice. But like if the practice is just recognizing who you are and be who you are, like who you truly are, you know, that silence or like the words that you said. What was it? The perfection. What was
The
it?
great perfection.
The great perfection. So the great perfection does everything, undoes everything. It undoes all the knots. And that's it. I think maybe it's a kind of a trust thing that, we can trust. But I don't think it has to be blind trust. Like, so for me, I don't feel like it's blind trust. And I feel for many people who have been doing spiritual practice, like really, when you really tune in, it's not blind trust because we see. And even in a moment, like even if we sit now for 5 minutes in silence and really in silence, like so we really sit as ourselves, you might see a lot of movement inside, but like you can see that all of that is kind of getting undone in a way when you really just stay with yourself, like it doesn't really have power by itself unless we give it. So it's really like allowing it to be undone, and that's what this meditative concentration is. He's kind of trying to convince us, in this chapter, he's kind of trying to convince us like that we really don't need all the mind and the things that we get attached to are dead, really dead and useless. And so he's trying to convince us. So we're all at different points. Maybe some people need to be convinced. And that's the truth, actually. We actually do need to be convinced. Until we're convinced, we're not able to really trust, like real conviction that the mind and all that it seeks and all that it looks out to and grasps to, it doesn't actually lead to peace or anything that we truly want in our heart. And until we really recognize that, then we're not going to trust really any spiritual practice or any teacher or any text, no matter how ancient or revered it is. And maybe, nothing is black and white. So, we might have a bit of trust sometimes and sometimes not, and in certain moments or situations we have more trust than others. But I think once we have a bit of trust, that's the kind of space where more trust can grow, because trust isn't blind. You can't really trust blindly. Like you have to see it. You see it, but even like seeing it for 1 second, it's like it creates an opening. And then the times that we don't trust, at least there's a potential for something to come in, like maybe in the midst of that non-trusting, something in us like reaches a bit higher, or praise, or, something happens. Maybe just a memory of trust or something. And all of that, it's like I feel like it creates a little opening, for God to come in really and undo us.
Well,
Mm.
there's something kind of melting on this side, and I'd really like to hear you read.
Okay. Okay, so we're on verse 86 of Meditative Concentration. Happy those intent on others' good, who roam in pleasant places formed of massive stone, refreshed by moonlight's sandal-scented beams, by gentle woodland breezes soothed. In caves beneath the trees, in houses left abandoned, may we linger long as we might wish, relinquishing the pain of guarding our possessions. Let us live in freedom, unconfined by cares. To have such liberty unmarred by craving, loosed from every bond and tie, a life of such contentment and such pleasure, even Indra would be pressed to find. I think Indra is like,
I I don't
at
know
least in
who
Hindu
Indra is.
tradition.
Yeah, I don't know who Indra is, and you froze
And
for a moment. So you were saying something about who Indra is, someone from Indian tradition?
yeah, I think he's god of the sky or something like
Okay, okay.
that. Yeah. Reflecting in such ways as these upon the excellence of solitude, pacify completely all discursiveness and cultivate the mind of bodhicitta. Strive at first to meditate upon the sameness of yourself and others. In joy and sorrow, all are equal. Thus be guardian of all, as of yourself. The hand and other limbs are many and distinct, but all are one, the body to be kept and guarded. Likewise, different beings in their joys and sorrows are, like me, all one in wanting happiness. This pain of mine does not afflict or cause discomfort to another's body, and yet this pain is hard for me to bear because I cling and take it for my own. And other beings' pain I do not feel, and yet, because I take them for myself, their suffering is mine and therefore hard to bear. And therefore I'll dispel the pain of others, for it is simply pain just like my own. And others I will aid and benefit, for they are living beings like my body. Since I and other beings both, in wanting happiness, are equal and alike, what difference is there to distinguish us, that I should strive to have my bliss alone? Since I and other beings both, in fleeing suffering, are equal and alike. What difference is there to distinguish us, that I should save myself and not the others? Since the pain of others does no harm to me, I do not shield myself from it. So why to guard against my future pain, which does no harm to this my present me? To think that I will have to bear it is in fact a false idea, for that which dies is one thing, what is born is something else. It's for the sufferers themselves, you'll say, to shield themselves from injuries that come. The pain felt in my foot is not my hands, so why, in fact, should one protect the other? True, it's inadmissible, you'll say. It happens simply through the force of ego clinging. But what is inadmissible for others and myself should be discarded utterly. Continua, my book says, continua and gatherings, so called, like garlands and like armies, are unreal. So there is no one to experience pain, for who is there to be its owner? Suffering has no possessor. Therefore, no distinctions can be made in it. Since pain is pain, it is to be dispelled. What use is there in drawing boundaries? But why dispel the pains of all? You cannot argue in this way. If my pain is removed, so too should that of others. If theirs is not, then neither should it be mine. Compassion makes us feel such pain, you say. So why should we make efforts to engender it? But thinking of the sufferings of beings, how can you regard as great the smart of your compassion? And if through such a single pain a multitude of sorrows can be cured, such pain as this all loving people strive to foster in themselves and others. Thus Stupush Pachandra, knowing that the king would cause him harm, did nothing to escape from tribulation, that the pains of many should be ended. Those whose minds are practiced in this way, whose joy it is to soothe another's ill, will venture into hell of unrelenting pain, as swans deep sweep down upon a lotus lake. The ocean-like immensity of joy, arising when all beings will be freed. Will this not be enough? Will this not satisfy? The wish for my own freedom, what is that to me? The work of bringing benefit to beings will not then make me proud and self-admiring. The happiness of others is itself my satisfaction. I do not expect another recompense. Therefore, just as I defend myself from even slight disparagement, in just the same way with regard to others, I should likewise have a mind protective and compassionate. The drop of sperm and blood belonged to others, yet through strong habituation, I came to have in its regard a sense of I, though in itself it is devoid of entity. And so, why not identify another's body, calling it my I, and vice versa? Why should it be hard to think of this my body as another's? Perceiving now the faults possessed by I, the ocean of good qualities that are in other, I shall lay aside all love of self and gain the habit of adopting other beings. Just as hands and other limbs are thought of as the members of a body, can we likewise not consider others as the limbs and members of a living whole? Just as in connection with this form, devoid of self, my sense of I arose through strong habituation. Why should not the thought of I, through habit, not arise related to another? Thus, when I work for others' sake, there'll be no sense of boasting self-congratulation. It is just as when I feed myself, I don't expect to be rewarded. Therefore, just as I defend myself from even slight disparagement, likewise for beings I shall now grow used to have a mind protective and compassionate. This is why the Lord Avalokita, out of great compassion, blessed his name, that those caught in the midst of multitudes might be released and freed from every fear. This is a great idea. Like, imagine if you could, like one thing that I think causes people suffering is they compare themselves to others. So it's like, oh, that person is really good at that, and I'm not good at that. Or that person is really beautiful, and I'm not. Or this person is that, and I'm not, you know. So it's like comparative. So if that wasn't there, and often that's talked about, in different kind of more new age, maybe spirituality. Um, but this is kind of taking it a step further. It's kind of the same as well, but then so then you're kind of bringing that into yourself. So, if you see someone who's doing something really good, it's just like, like um, you can kind of feel it as your own, you know, and then there's no need to, that comparison then is gone completely, like just the same as in your own being, like let's say in your own, like person, sometimes you're doing something good or bad, and so you can't do loads of things at the same time, you can only do one thing at a time, isn't it? So kind of like that, if we consider like all the beings like to be ourselves, so if this body is taking rest and that body's doing lots of work, it doesn't matter, there'll be a time for this body to do work and that body to take rest, like that. So I think it's a really nice way of looking at it. And maybe, ideally, you don't really need to be thinking about it because it's still thinking. But if it starts with thinking, it's okay. And
Well,
I think it
this,
is, yeah, I think it's kind of obvious, in a way, like when we're just kind of empty and we're going about, like I was at a music concert the other day, and somehow it was very obvious on some level how interconnected we are. 'Cause it seems like one person comes to the concert and they're the person, like let's say everyone bought tickets to come and see them, so they're on the stage, so there could be the temptation, like this person is there and they're this thing, like, oh, it depends how much you like them, but you might be like amazed by them. But like they need us every much as we need them. Like without listeners, then they're probably not going to be there singing or whatever they're doing. And then also, you know, it seems like everybody's there for this one person, but there's so much support that they need, like they need somebody to hire the space. They need somebody to make the space beautiful. They need somebody to do like the sound engineering. They need like, and each of those people are equally as important. And then also the people to buy the tickets, they also need that as well. And, we don't know like the importance of each one, but like each one is a part of the whole, like that. And I think we can, even if you're just open to that idea without thinking about it, you could just kind of invite that idea in. And then wherever we are, then look outwards, then like emptily, that's not really a word. You can kind of look out with that idea in your heart or something. And I think we can see it then probably anywhere, even if you just um go for a walk somewhere where people take walks, or go to like a supermarket and go to work, or even in your family, wherever we are with other people. I think we can get a sense of it at least, you know. Um, yeah. And I think
what I,
it's nice if, sorry, I keep interrupting, but
no, no.
I think it feels very, yeah, like we can feel like very whole or something when we kind of have an insight on some level, because I think the insight comes more on a feeling level. Like we have a kind of just like a sense of it. I think we can pick up a sense of it. And of course we all can because we are a part of the whole. So sorry for interrupting you more than once.
No, I was just underlining or about to underline something you were saying. It's a sense of participation. You
Yeah,
can, yeah.
yeah. And that's also what causes us to suffer as well when we feel like apart from everything, isn't it?
Hmm.
Like even if you're in the midst sometimes of many, many people, you can kind of feel like cut off and like you
I'm
don't,
not participating. I'm,
yeah, it
I'm,
can be
yeah.
like that. Yeah, or like I don't belong, or these people they're different than me.
Mm.
And maybe like it's not that that's completely invalid, because maybe sometimes we are in the wrong place and we have to listen to those things. as well. But, you know, because the whole shuffles around, so maybe you're here, but actually you need to be over there. So it's not like that we should just ignore all of those things. But yeah, like, because we can be called to another part of the whole to be somewhere else. Like,
Yeah, Shanti Deva's calling us to, he's like plotting a path back from this
yeah,
separation somehow.
yeah, yeah, there's all different ways in,
Mm,
to see the non-separation. Like there's
mm,
different perspectives,
hmm
different ways. I heard someone saying once, I think it was like Ajay Shanti or something, and he was comparing reality to like a diamond and how, like, of course, the diamond is one whole, but there's lots of different like phases that you can look through. And it does seem to be like that. And each one seems perfectly whole.
hmm
You're looking through one perspective and it's not even really a perspective. Like it feels like it's not a perspective, because all of your being is experiencing. Yeah, like kind of feels like, okay, this is how reality is. Yeah. But like there's many different ways to look, so we should never feel like we know how the reality is now, because we don't really.
hmm
And there's many ways to experience that non-separation. And maybe the more the merrier. We don't need moral. It's so funny, like you hear yourself saying something because it's kind of paradoxical. Because then you could get into, oh, like I need more. The more the merrier. So like I want more perspectives. But like you probably wouldn't feel like that because each perspective is totally whole, and you feel like, well, there actually isn't anything else that couldn't be. It's like impossible for there to be any other way of seeing this reality. But then it's like, actually, there isn't other. Would you like to read anything first?
Are we on 119? 119?
Yeah.
And so we should be undeterred by hardships, for through the influence of use and habit, people even come to grieve for those whose very names struck terror in their hearts. Those desiring speedily to be a refuge for themselves and others should make the interchange of I and other, and thus embrace a sacred mystery. Because of our attachment to our bodies, even little things alarm us. This body, then, this source of so much terror, who would not detest it as the worst of foes? Wishing to relieve our body's ills, our hungry mouths, the dryness of our throats, we steal the lives of fishes, birds, and deer. Oop, I went ahead too far.
Mm.
And lie in wait along the road. And for the sake of profit and position, some there are who even kill their parents or steal what has been offered to the triple gem, because of which they'll burn in hell of unrelenting pain. Where are the wise and prudent then who cherish, guard, and serve the body, who would not perceive it as their foe, and as their foe regard it with contempt? If I give this, what will be left for me? Thinking of oneself, the way of evil ghosts. If I keep this, what will be left to give? Concern for others is the way of heaven. If to serve myself I harm another, I'll suffer later in the realms of hell. But if for others' sake I harm myself, then every excellence will be my heritage. Wanting what is best for me, stupidity, inferiority, and lower realms result. Let this be changed, applied to others. Honors in the realms of bliss will come. Enslaving others, forcing them to serve me, I will come to know the state of servitude. But if I labor for the good of others, mastery and leadership will come to me.
Can I pause you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I just have to go and do something.
Okay.
1 second. Sorry about that. Getting very cold in here. I had to turn on the heating.
Shall we continue?
Yes.
129? I've been reading ahead for a little rehearsal.
Oh yeah. Good. Mm.
All the world, sorry. Oh man, I rehearsed and I got the first line wrong. All the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others. All the misery the world contains has come through wanting pleasure for oneself. Is there need for lengthy explanation? Childish beings look out for themselves. Buddhas labor for the good of others. See the difference that divides them.
Love that.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Feel like that could, I think like when anybody hears that, we kind of know that's true. And we're like, yeah, yeah, that's true. But I feel like it can get a lot deeper in us, because even though we might read a quote or something, that like to give to others, like that's where like true joy comes from. And yeah, yeah, that's good. But then in the very next breath, we're like, okay, how can I, make more money or go and get some pleasure somewhere? I'm gonna go and do this or that. So like I feel like at least I probably speak for myself, like I know it's true, but I feel like it can deepen a lot more in my heart. And if it's true here, it's probably true elsewhere also.
Mm.
Yeah. So I think that's why it stands out as well, is because like wants to bring it alive more, and I really want that like, to do good for others. It actually feels really joyful, I noticed like not like the first time, but somehow it's becoming more conscious that even if you just write a really kind message to someone, it just fills you up with joy. And it is like you're not doing it for that reason, but it just happens. Like I think it just happened like a few times during the week. Like someone wrote me a message and then I wrote back and it was just like a really nice message that came out and I just felt really good. And it's like, wow, that it feels really good to give like goodness.
Yeah, there's couples that we go and do stuff with, like a couple from Ireland, in fact, who live in Cork, who are here in Lagos, who we're going to
Okay.
hike with today, and they're just one of many couples. So when we do stuff with them, I
Yeah.
send a thank you after it's over in WhatsApp because
Oh,
we're
nice.
on WhatsApp. So
Yeah.
and it's just thanks for hanging out with us, or so
Yeah.
glad we could spend this time together,
Yeah.
and there's this couple we're going to go on a walk with later, hopefully not through just slogging through the mud because it's been raining,
Yeah.
but I'm tickled that they would make time for us and
Yeah.
want to spend time with us. So it's just very
Yeah.
sweet. So
Yeah.
it's a way, what you're saying, I think, is a way to sort of bathe in that sweetness somehow.
Yeah. And that's a nice example as well because you're kind of probably both couples, you're both doing something nice for each other. So you said you're really tickled, that they're giving time to you and you're also giving time for them,
Mhm.
so you're both doing the same thing. So it's like multiplying. And that's a very simple thing, like you're both just giving time to each other. And that's like a really huge, I'm saying that's like a huge thing, like to give your presence to people. So just to give your presence to, like, you're there for them. That's like,
That's beautiful. And I feel just as you were saying that, we have been married 40 years.
yeah.
And it's, that's not nothing.
No, definitely not.
Yeah. And to, sort of share ourselves together with another couple, I
Yeah.
think there's something nourishing about that
Mm.
just by itself.
Like someone like me, I can be like, wow, 40 years on. And like it's like I'm kind of like imagining that I know, but I obviously I can't know. Like I can't know because I'm only 40. Yeah, so that's like my whole life. But I feel like I've been alive forever and ever. It feels like a really long time. So to be married for 40 years, I can only like I know that I don't really know what that is, but I do know what relationships are like and they can be challenging. So I'm sure you went through many challenges together. Like no relationship is like all, candy floss and rainbows.
I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Are your parents still together?
No,
Okay. Okay. But both are
no,
still alive.
they're both still alive, but they broke up when I was two.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
Okay.
I haven't seen that even,
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Well, we'll come and show you what it's all about then. All right. So, 132. Shall I continue, or do you want to take over again? What's
No,
your
please.
pleasure?
I would like to hear
Okay.
you.
Leaving future lives outside the reckoning, even this life's needs are not fulfilled. The servants do not do their work, and masters do not pay the wages earned. Casting far away abundant joys that may be gained in this or future lives, because of bringing harm to other beings, I ignorantly bring myself intolerable pain. All the harm with which this world is rife, all fear and suffering that there is, clinging to the I has caused it. What am I to do with this great demon? If this I is not relinquished, if this I is not relinquished wholly, sorrow likewise cannot be avoided. If they do not keep away from fire, people can't escape from being burned. To free myself from harm and others from their sufferings, let me give myself to others, loving them as I now love myself.
Mm.
For I am now beneath the rule of others. Of this you must be certain, O my mind. And now no longer shall you have a thought that does not wish the benefit of beings. And that is meditative concentration right there. That's the name of this chapter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's saying don't allow yourself the luxury of a thought that doesn't wish the benefit of beings.
Mm.
That's concentration. Because it's really hard when someone like just walking down the street to
Yeah.
the grocery store, which fortunately is very close.
Hmm.
But people use underpowered motorbikes that are
Hmm.
super loud, and they spew all this really smelly stuff. And
I,
it's hard for me to keep a compassionate thought in my mind when,
yeah.
yeah. Anyway,
We just do the best we can. Because that's how I was feeling like that when you were reading that, like it's saying that like basically I, like the belief in I causes all the suffering. So then it feels like, well, it's actually really easy, so you just give up the I, this the sense that okay, we just give it up. And it's actually not difficult at all what we pretend it is. Because we've been like believing it for so long. So, but then it's like, so in one sense, it's like really easy to give it up like immediately, like straight away. In one kind of, that's one facet of the diamond. You can look through that. But then it's like, okay, but in another facet, it's not really like that for most people. Most people, we have to give it up like a bit at a time, because we've been holding on to the eye for so long. We don't really know if we can like trust it or how it's going to be, so we have to just give it up slowly, slowly, slowly. And I feel like, some teachers and all, they're real like, give it up straight away, just give it up now. But and it's okay. I like listening to people like that as well. It's like, yeah, give it up. I like it, and it's like it's urgent, and it's like, oh. but like something in me, like I wouldn't really, and I think it's just because I understand how I am myself. And I feel like I'm very oriented towards love, so I feel like it's much more loving and, God, like the truth of who we are, or like God, the source, that's not really urging us to do anything in a hurry. It's not in a hurry at all, really. You know, it's very kind of peaceful and gentle and loving and kind, and we can take all the time we want, but it's good to be reminded that like we're gonna suffer if we don't give it up. So the urgency can come from ourselves, because we're so urgent that we don't want to suffer anymore. But I think we can be really compassionate, when we see, okay, this thought is still there, like it's really hard to not give out about all that noise and fumes and all that. It's like, okay, it's okay. But, so I think we just do the best we can. And I actually think that's really loving because you can't force yourself. So I see things in myself sometimes like, oh, like I get really like annoyed sometimes like with my mother, like the things she does. And I feel like it's really hard to not be annoyed at her. But I also see that that annoyance and that way of being like it's mine, and it's hurting me. But I also can't make it go away because it does annoy me. Like, I can't pretend it doesn't annoy me. I can't pretend something isn't like really deeply triggered by when she does the things she does because it really is. It's just like, why? Like, why would you do that? I just don't understand. Like, and it's like repetitively, like over and over again. So like, I can't pretend to not be annoyed by a lot of things. So then it's just like, okay, I feel like for me, where I am, it's like, okay, I can see that this kind of anger and annoyance, like it's hurting me. It's hurting me. But it's like also to just be like, okay, this is where I'm at right now. And it's like, okay, and to kind of just hold that feeling of anger. And also, I feel like to just really let myself have it. Because I kind of have this sense that like I want to give everything to God, for lack of a better word. I like just using the word God. It's very easy. It's very all encompassing. But like I want to give everything to God. But how can I give everything to God if I don't know what it is? I don't know what it is, and if I haven't really accepted it, because God gave it to me first. Because everything came from God. So I haven't even accepted this thing. So like God gave it to me as a gift. So if I want to give it back, I have to accept it first. And it reminds me, there's a line in A Course in Miracles, and it says to give and to receive are one in truth. And
Mm,
I really feel that, like in that context and in other contexts as well, but really in that context, like when I really receive whatever life has given me or God has given me, and whatever it is, whether it's good or bad, and to receive it as fully as I'm able to, which maybe for me at the moment means really fully letting myself feel whatever it is. So even if it's like anger or those more difficult things to accept, maybe like upset about the things that happen in the world and all, but really let yourself feel it. So when I really let myself feel it, then there's no resistance to it. And in that non-resistance, it kind of naturally goes back. Like there's not in the receiving is the giving. So I'm
mm.
naturally giving it back. I'm kind of going like that. It's kind of like as if it's a circle because it happens within you, within your own being and your own heart. So when you really, really receive something, you're also really, really giving it. And the other way around, I'm not sure so much the giving to really give it. But like I know that in a different context. So in a different context, like to give, like when you're really giving something to someone, like a gift or something, like really give it. Like, okay, this is only gonna take a second. But I remember like giving, I was in India and we were sleeping on poor mattresses, okay, me and my friend. And then I got a new mattress. And then I was sleeping on it. I was like, oh, it's so good. This is like best ever. And then my friend was like, oh, I have sore back. And, oh. And then I was like, oh no, like I'm gonna have to give it to her. I felt like that in my being. Like I was like, I felt like I just have to. Like she's like complaining. I was like, okay, you can have my mattress, like you can have it. And I gave it to her. And then, but I was still kind of like, I was like the next day or like after a day or two, I was like, was it good? Was it really good? And then she was like, maybe you could have it like one day or like maybe we could share or something. And I was like, okay, but then it didn't really feel good. So then I felt like, I think I remembered also this. line from the Course in Miracles at that time, and I felt like no, I have to completely give it to her, and so I because something didn't feel right in the interaction, there was this kind of like tugging, and I was like, and I wanted it, so I wasn't really able to even appreciate her enjoying it, because I hadn't really given it. So then I decided, okay, I'm going to completely give it to her, and so I told her, I said, no, I want you to have it completely, and I don't want it like any day. Like you have it just all the time. And something felt really good about that. I felt like, I felt like I'd really fully given it to her. So I actually really received, like peace. I received peace because I didn't have to have that fight. And I received, also joy because like she's getting the joy from the bed, and the good sleep. So it's like I felt like I could kind of feel that from her as well. So in that context, I kind of felt like, yeah, to give and to receive are one in truth.
What a relief that you could finally unburden yourself of that comfortable mattress.
Yeah. And then I got the mattress back in the end.
Oh, you got it
Anyway,
back.
I got it back in the end because she had to leave India unexpectedly.
Ah,
And so then it
okay.
was like, oh, I get this mattress back. It was like the best mattress ever. Like it was like seriously so good.
And it was
Uh,
too narrow for you guys to cuddle up on.
yeah, it was a single
Okay.
one. So
We are at 9:57 Portugal time.
yeah, okay. So what um number are we on?
I think I know I read 137 and I don't think I
Okay.
read 138. So we're on 138.
Right. Okay, I'll fold the page there.
Did we
It
get
was,
50 verses in? Because we started at 80?
yeah,
Wow, that's okay. That's progress. We could finish this chapter next time.
yeah, I think we will. Did we start at 80?
I thought we did.
Or something?
Maybe
Oh yeah,
85?
we did it. We started at 86.
Okay. Well, good. It's something.
Um, it is. So I thought we were on like verse 957. It's like that is a lot of verses. Because you said it's 957. So that was my initial thought was. Oh, that was good. Haven't got anything else to say. You?
Okay.
Do you have anything else to
Just, I really cherish these
say?
sessions with you, and it's very, very special. And
Mm.
look forward to finding a Thursday night I can come to the group that you're doing. And it seems
No,
like you're doing a little bit of effort around it and are gathering some people together. So
yeah, a few people are
I want
coming.
to give that a little momentum if I can
No,
by
thank
showing
you.
up.
And I feel like we should like have homework. Like
What would
so,
you what's our assignment then?
okay, you can say whatever comes to your mind also. So the last time we said, okay, so we really should give at least like 2 minutes a day, to go into the forest and do that meditative concentration. So leave everything. So first, I think we should continue with that. So if we're not already doing it, to do it. It doesn't matter like if it's like every day, but whenever we can, that we're like taking some time to sit because I feel like that's like it opening up to being undone. And then because we read in this about, yeah, like and this is a good time of year for that as well, like given to others. All the joy the world contains has come through wishing happiness for others.
Mm.
And all the misery the world contains has come through wanting pleasure for oneself. So if somehow we can take that into our being, and I don't think we have to like turn it into like a practice like that we get all like serious about it, but just like whenever we remember and whenever we can, that the essence of that is with us.
Mm.
And we can maybe be conscious about how it affects us when it just happens, because maybe it just happens naturally as well.
Mm.
Or sometimes, just see how it is. But to bring that into our day. I would like
In
that
my
for
in
myself.
my in my electronic version of
Yeah.
that verse, so 129,
Yeah.
it's actually underlined here.
Okay.
Maybe it's because it's been quoted or highlighted by others over the
Okay.
course of, thousands of readings or something. But
Yeah.
that's a special one. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
It is. So we can wish happiness to others. So it can be true wishing just and praying and having good intentions for others. And it can also be doing good things for others. And I think at this time of year that happens a lot anyway. It's somehow inherent. It's like Christmas. Someone could be watching this at another time, but when we're saying this, it's like Christmas time. So I think that does happen a lot somehow. It comes into our consciousness to wish others well and to give to others. And yeah, and if we're given to others to like we give with our whole heart, you know. it can happen.
I am gonna miss seeing you for a month, so I don't think I can go too many Thursdays without showing up. That's a month seems a really long
Yeah.
time before getting a good dose of Amba.
Yeah, I we don't meet every Thursday. We just meet on the second Thursday and the fourth Thursday of the month.
Second and fourth. Okay.
Yeah, so this Thursday is only the first Thursday of the month,
Okay.
and
Okay.
then it's already the month.
Okay. Good
Yeah.
to know.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. May in like Christianity, they say at the end of Mass, they say, "Go in peace to love and serve the Lord,"
Oh,
which is nice. But like I felt like something, like go in peace and go as a bodhicitta. Go and spread your bodhicitta nature. Walk in the way of the bodhisattva.
oh,
Let us go and walk in the way of the bodhisattva. Because that's why we're reading this, isn't it? And that's
amen.
why if anybody is listening to this, I don't know if anybody listens to it or not, but if anybody does somewhere in their being, they must want to walk in the way of the bodhisattva. And who wouldn't really? I mean, I think everyone should be listening to us reading this or reading it themselves. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm looking
Enjoy your
forward to
walk
next
today.
time. Will
Yeah.
do. Will do.
Okay. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Wait, I'll have to give you some Irish to say to your Irish friends.
Oh, please.
What would you like to say to them? I don't know much. You can say "Dia Gwit," but that's not good. You could say, well, people don't really say this in Irish, but like, oh yeah, you could say people don't really say this, but they know what it meant. Like if you say "Cod é an scale,"
Cad é an scéal?
"Cod é an scale,"
Cad é an scéal?
yeah, that means what's the story?
Cad é an scéal?
Yeah, but people
Okay.
don't really say it in Irish. It's not a very common expression, but they would know what it meant.
Cad é an scéal?
Yeah,
I'll
that
give that
means
a
it means
try.
hello. It means God be with you.
Cad é an scéal? Cad é an
This
scéal?
one,
You know,
God, I understand. Or a very wait, what last one? Very simple one is like "Conasatatu," and they'd probably love to hear you say it because it's funny to hear people who don't speak Irish speaking Irish.
let's try that one again.
Conasatatu.
Conna
Conas,
ataltu?
conas,
Conna?
conas,
Cunnas.
conas. Atá
Ata?
two.
Tu. Cunnas atatu.
Yeah, and they'll probably say, "Oh, Tom go ma." They'll say. They'll be surprised. They'll be like, "Oh, Tom go ma."
And cunnas atatu means,
It just means how are you.
ah,
That's like what you say to people, isn't it, when you meet them? Like, how are you? Conasatatu.
a quick story. We're in the car on the way home with some Flemish Dutch people who speak Portuguese, and we were talking about something, and they said, "I'll have to think before I make a decision." And I've been
Mm,
really struggling with my Portuguese. How do I, remember sentences, speak them, make myself
yeah.
understood? And it leads to some funny stuff because I'm not that great with it
Yeah.
yet. So the sentence was, I need to think before I make a decision.
Hmm.
And the Portuguese and I thought, okay, I know that one. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it a try.
Yeah.
It's preciso de pensar antes de tomar uma decisão.
Okay.
And I said it to the woman, and she made a face like I had just spit in her soup. It
Oh
was really,
no.
I don't think I said anything insulting, but apparently I just need to keep working on it. So
She was just
anyway,
like,
konosatatu, konosatatu.
this is why it's so funny because the what do you call it? Is it alliteration? Is that a word?
Yeah,
Where you
yeah, yeah.
go up and down. It's just a little bit different than you would
O-
normally say it, and that's why it sounds so funny.
Okay,
But it's good. Like you're doing good.
okay. I'll try that one, see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, love you.
Okay. Love you too.
Bye.
Bye.